Hey everybody, this is Health Coach Art here, and today I'm going to interview Jaime Mattox, whom I met recently on her Facebook group. Uh, what's it called again?
Compassionate Connections, a new soul rising community.
Yes, yes, it's a really a neat group of coaches, of people that just want to kind of show up once a month on the video, and we support each other in any way they need supported. So if you're looking for something like that, I encourage you to check it out. But today we're gonna talk about Jamie's coaching practice. And so welcome, Jamie. It's good to see you. And
It's good to see you. Thank you for having me.
first of all, where are you in the world?
I'm in Austin, Texas.
Austin.
I don't live in Austin proper, but I'm a stone's throw from Austin.
Okay, good. Um, So, I know a little bit about you, but the people watching probably don't. So, why don't we just start off with you telling us, about your journey, what inspired you to be doing what you're doing today? Basically your story.
Well, my story is long. There's a lot of stories. Sometimes it's hard to. I have so many stories. Sometimes it's hard to pick and choose where to begin.
Mm,
So I got here to where I am today, a single mom, a solo entrepreneur, building and running a business for the first time in my life in midlife, um, one struggle at a time, literally one struggle at a time. If we want to go all the way back to childhood, I can tell you all the stories about, growing up being under supported with a single mom who struggled. And I can tell you defining moments in my life. 22 was one of them. When I was 22, I was told I would never carry a pregnancy. I had my first onset of optic neuritis, which is where the optic nerve swells and you literally can't see. So, like, I
mm.
went blind in my right eye. Oh, I moved cross country with a boy, and that boy dumped me. So, I mean, nothing like getting you at 22, 1,500 miles away from home. And it's just story after story after story. And ultimately, there's a lot of the stories that I don't even remember how I navigated. Like when I think back to my 22-year-old self, I
Hmm.
don't know how I got through it. I don't know how I kept putting one foot in front of the other, but I always did. And being under supported and struggling is the ultimate main reason why I do what I do today.
Really?
Because yeah. Yes. Same thing with compassionate connections. Like I created that group because I need more support and accountability. And if I need more support and accountability, then I know other people do too. And I've got to tell you, some of the worst parts about being diagnosed with ovarian cancer or multiple sclerosis um, was having to do it on my own.
Yeah.
I didn't have a strong support system. When I told my family, everybody crumbled around me. And
Huh.
so I know how important the growth and development journey is. I know how important it is to be healthy body, mind, and soul because I've done all that work. But ultimately, like my strong why is I don't want people to feel alone.
I was going to say, I can easily see your drive. You mentioned that you were under supported as a child and growing up and into your early adult years. And I can see where how you would want others to not experience that. And that easily lines up with your Facebook group because that feeds exactly that. People, hey, you want support? Here it is, come and get it. I don't know if you consciously were aware of that, but and in doing that, it's also meeting a need of your own because you're kind of making up for things you didn't get in your earlier years, right?
Oh, of course. And it's interesting because I do think it was. more intentional. It was like my intention always was for it to be support and accountability.
Mm.
Um, Go back a year and a half. It was really hot that summer. I mean, it's hot in Texas in the summer anyway, but it was May and it was already over 100 degrees, and I wasn't getting out to walk, and I felt horrible. So I knew that I needed to get out early in the morning before the heat of the day, and I wasn't doing it, and I wasn't doing it, and I wasn't doing it. So I started a walking group so that I could get the accountability and support that I needed. I
There
mean,
you
if I
go.
scheduled a walk, there's no way I'm going to leave people standing, at a park waiting on me and not show up.
Mhm.
And we've been walking for a year and a half now. And I had no idea when I was creating that community that it was more than walking. It's connection.
Right. Yeah. That's
And
awesome.
so it was a little more intentional with the new Facebook group. Um, but I do like sometimes when we don't have the support and accountability we need, we get to create it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really good. I was thinking about that. I know what it's like when your routine is kind of messed up because last year I had two knee surgeries. In April, I, just blew out my knee running on a treadmill. And the doctor thought, we'll just go in and I destroyed the meniscus in my knee. And so he went and removed it. But he was like, that knee looks pretty messed up. Well, in October, I had to have full replacement. So I'm
Oh,
super, super big on a regular routine, fitness routine. My transformation story, and that's a big part of it. And I remember when that happened, when I went down on the ground because I couldn't even stand on it. My first thing I felt was fear that I'm not going to be able to work out. I'm going to gain weight and I'm going to get sick again. And that it was overwhelming. It was like it took me by complete surprise. I didn't know how to, and I'm a certified coach, and I'm like, okay, I got to start coaching myself here. So I know what it's like when your routine gets mixed up like that. It's like it throws you off. So, I mean, that's awesome. I commend you that you found a way to get through that, and that was accountability. I didn't have that for a while, but you know, I mean, that was last April, and then just like within the last month, I've gotten to where I can start doing light cardio again. I didn't gain a single pound, mostly because I refused to eat for a while. It's like I almost lost too much weight. So anyway, that's another story. But um, yeah,
well,
and it was interesting
things
because you were talking about how you said, as you look back on that period when you were 22 and you don't know how in the world you got through what you did. My guess is you probably had a coach inside you. Most coaches have that intuition of coaching before they ever even know what a coach was, and you most likely coached your way through it without realizing what you were doing.
I absolutely did. I mean, I was at 22, I was definitely not consciously aware. So fast forward quite a few years, I guess this is going to be 2010. We bought a house, and about 6 months, this house that I still live in now, about 6 months after living here, I started to get really sick.
Mm.
Um, is these craters on my skin is it's all part of
I
eight and a
don't
half
I
years.
don't see
Uh,
craters.
well, maybe
You
I don't
do.
have a filter on, but I do manipulate the light.
Yeah.
Um, but um, I started to get sick after we lived here about 6 months, and it was not long before I was unhealthy, skinny, and just having so many health issues. I mean, rashes on my skin and digestive issues and cognitive issues, and I was tired all the time, and everything hurt. And I argued with my doctors for years, and they kept telling me that the multiple sclerosis was progressing. I was telling them they were wrong, and nobody wanted to find out what was wrong. And so I went out on my own, And I ditched all my doctors. I tell people all the time, I ditched my doctors, fired them all, kept one, my general practice, because he was happy that I wanted to take a more holistic approach and actually find out what was causing these symptoms instead of just treating each individual symptom with a different prescription.
Yeah.
And I can say it took me 2.5 years to get off all of the meds. I no meds today. I spent years playing with food. I had updated allergy testing done. I removed foods that I was actually allergic to. I played with plant-based and gluten-free, and I did all of these things. I say I intuitively guided myself through my self-healing journey,
Hmm.
and I did. It was just trial and error, trial and error, trial and error. I don't know how I kept getting curious, but I just knew. Like, I guess there was probably a lot of intuition at play that again, like you said, wasn't necessarily consciously aware of, but there was something inside of me that just always, you've got to keep going, you've got to figure this out. And it took 8.5 years for us to find the mold growing inside our air condition, like our
Oh, that's
HVAC.
funny because the first thing I thought of 6 months after in your new house is was it something going on in the house? And it was
Yep,
mold.
it was mold.
And you were dealing with it for 8+ years,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
we lived here for 8.5 years before it was discovered. And for about a year prior, I knew something was wrong with the house. I knew something was wrong with the house. Like everything that I had done up to that point, I was getting better. Being plant-based and gluten-free and not heavily medicated, it all worked for me.
Yeah.
I found I taught myself how to meditate in there and started practicing yoga and then got my yoga certification. And my whole life is just changing and I'm getting better, but I was still super sick. And I kept dragging people through the house, contractors, plumbers, foundation specialists, tell me there's something, like I knew there was something wrong here. And then one day, one of our son's bedrooms started to smell like mold. And so we called a mold company and they came out. And then that started a whole nother traumatic process.
Yeah.
Um,
I know it does.
Ultimately, oh, it was that we could talk about that like the whole time. I mean, we had to move out of the house, repairs took forever, it was like college tuition expensive, like it was traumatic for all of us. But on the other side of it, oh my gosh, everything that I had put into place over the years, the way I showed up for myself, the way I cared for myself, as soon as I didn't live in molds, guess who wasn't sick anymore?
Hmm. I was going to ask you, were you the only one in the house affected by this?
I was the only one that presented symptoms.
Huh.
So,
Do you think
but
it's
in
because
hindsight,
maybe the MS made you a little more susceptible to it?
yes, I think that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Now, in hindsight, there were some other like mood things with my ex-husband
Mm,
that when we didn't live in molds anymore were no longer an issue, but that's not something that he recognized as much as I did.
mm. So the
But
conflict began. Yeah.
nope, no, there's no more conflict. No,
Well,
nope.
I mean, for the time. Yeah.
Yeah, this is where okay, okay. I'm not picking that battle. I'm going down this road.
Well, that's an amazing success story, survival really. But yeah, as I listened to your story, I mean, you were definitely coaching yourself. You were the one, you didn't have that support that you needed, but you supported yourself. You didn't give up. I'm sure you probably told yourself, man, I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to stop until I find out what's going on. And because I recognize it because I went through the same thing in a different way, but
A little bit. I mean, I'm I cried a lot, Art. Like I cried a lot. There was a lot of depression involved,
Sure.
anxiety. It wasn't until the pandemic that I realized that I've had silent anxiety my whole life. When we're all stuck at home and we can't go anywhere, it's when things really start to show up. And when you're curious, what is
Yeah.
this? You kind of figure it out. Um, but I'm not ever going to candy coat anything and tell anybody that it was easy. Um, I mean, I used to go to my closet or my bathroom and cry by myself because it didn't feel like I could do it. I, I didn't, I needed help. I would cry and pray and help me, please. And apparently I did get that help
Mhm.
because I didn't give up. But it wasn't because I didn't, there were plenty of times I wanted to, but I didn't.
Yeah, I can easily imagine. I'm sure anybody listening to this is there must have been a lot of overwhelm for you. For somebody as young as you were, I think you were a mom at this time, right?
Um, with the mold,
Yeah.
yeah, so my kids, I guess they would have been, Max had just turned 2 and Jack would have been 5. So
So I can
maybe 6.
imagine with that fear of there's something going on in the house, now you have the element of being a mom and worrying for your kids too, you know? So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, going into the closet or the bathroom to cry makes complete sense, you know? I probably would have been right there with you. Um, so where did this journey at this point shift to now once you realized you were getting healthy again, you've figured out what the problem was, but now you have a whole new lifestyle, right? Because you have shifted to were you totally plant-based at this time?
Um, okay, so I always forget dates. I wish I would have written more of this stuff down when I was going through it. Like, I wish I would have had a journal to say, this is when I tried this and this is when I tried that. I've been plant-based, mostly plant-based, for probably 11, 12 years.
Hmm.
Um, but that was one of the things that kind of came later.
Yeah,
Like,
and you basically your experience basically proves what I came to believe that if given the right tools, our bodies we've been given bodies that can heal itself if we could just get out of the way, right?
totally. And food is medicine. Like, what you eat matters.
Mhm.
I mean, we talked about this recently, Art. Everything you feed your body, mind, and your soul matters.
Mhm.
But what you literally ingest, it, even if it's just the best quality you can. I mean, I'm not saying everybody should run out and totally overhaul their diets. I mean, they should, but it, it took me something like, I mean, we lived in mold for 8.5 years, and it wasn't, I mean, so I played with all of these different modalities and all of these things with food for years before I figured out what was ideal for me.
Yeah, so hopefully now you're at a place where you can provide shortcuts for people. They can get there a whole lot quicker. It's amazing you didn't end up with serious respiratory issues. I mean, I used to be a facilities director and dealt with mold issues in commercial places and stuff like that, where we have to take it so seriously. And one of the things I learned in working with these people is that, exposed to it too long, it can really seriously screw up your respiratory system. Spores can actually start developing in your lungs. So how in the world do you live with that for 8 years and that didn't happen? Probably a miracle
Yeah.
itself, you know?
Yeah.
So, okay, so at what stage of your life did the shift go to where you feel like you were led to becoming a coach and working with people on these issues. You certainly obviously are very passionate about helping people. So when did that all start?
Well, I have I really have helped people my whole life. Again, this is, the whole unconscious thing. Like I can't tell you how many times people ask me questions or have asked me questions, even simple things. And the first thought in my head is, why are you asking me? But I always have an answer. And I'll say, like, I don't know where I'm just pulling this right out of my hiney. I don't know where this is coming from, but this is what I think, this is what I think it is. This is just my opinion.
Mm,
But it was really during the pandemic that, well, it was a hard time.
yes.
I
Well,
mean, and most people had some sort of struggles, and people that have never had a mental health issue or a self-worth issue or any of these things all of a sudden are losing their minds. And one of the big things that we haven't talked about on this call was most of the time I was sick, I had a very toxic mindset. I was negative. I was tired. Like I said, there was depression and anxiety. I would I would ruminate on how tired I was, how sick I was, how
mm,
undersupported I was. I would have these arguments with my now ex-husband in my head that would just play over like on repeat. So I didn't know at the time that I was making it worse. Like, I mean, I was genuinely ill, but I was also making it worse. So by the time the pandemic hit, I had been on the growth mindset change for about a year and a half. And so when it all hit, number one, I was a little bit better prepared, not well prepared. I still had my moments, but I was a little bit better prepared to handle this or navigate all of this unknown space. And then it was just really watching the world kind of come together and fall apart and come together and fall apart and come together and fall apart all at the same time, that I just wanted to be a part of that. And it started with, literally just sharing positive social media posts, and then, getting curious. The pandemic took away my plan A. I was newly divorced. Pandemic took away plan A. So I started researching what came next. And I started signing up for webinars and trainings. And um, it really was when I found Health Coach Institute that I knew I knew that I was meant to help people, like really help people, help them be happier and be healthier and be like, seriously, being healthy is so much more than what you eat. Like, I can get on this, I can stay on this pedestal for a while. Um, but it was everything that me and my kids went through. You know, with the divorce and the pandemic, and watching the world, and how do I even say this? We always find what we're looking for. So if you think the world's a horrible place, you are going to find horrible things and horrible people in the world. And if you believe that the world is an amazing, magical place where all your dreams can come true, guess what? You're going to find.
yeah. Yeah, so relate to that part of your life because, my personal, yeah, and I haven't, I've been coaching since late 2021, but it was really the last 6 to 8 months where I really learned the importance of mindset. you know, um, like I lost my career came to an end in May 2020, right in the heat of COVID when it was really kicking off. And that's also right about the time I started experiencing my health deteriorations. Um, with my vision going wompy and I was quite overweight and all that stuff. But and then 5 months later, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and stage 3 kidney disease. But looking back on that mindset of I had to change my mindset overnight because I was very close to stage 4. And at that point, my doctor even told me, hey, I've never had anybody reverse stage 3 kidney disease, so don't get your hopes up. So imagine a doctor telling you that. I want your doctor, the one that loves the holistic approach, but so again, like you, I had to learn to coach myself and I didn't know what I was doing. But that mindset, that's the very first thing I work on with clients is, okay, what are your belief values? What do you feel you deserve? All that stuff, because so many people, they want it, but don't believe they deserve it, and you had a lot you had to sift through and you had to work through before you could get to that place of rebuilding, so I commend you so much and on doing what you did, because I know what it's like to turn significant health issues around. And
Well, thank you. Thank you. I am still very much a work in progress. I don't have a lot of this stuff figured out. And
we
I
all
will
are.
tell you, I still cry. I mean, I still have days where, I mean, I've never ran a business before. This is the first business I've ever ran. And I'm fantastic at what I do. And I'm learning how to not be a stay-at-home mom. Did I mention I was a stay-at-home mom for 17 years?
Mhm.
I'm learning how to not be that anymore. I'm taking on this completely new identity. And it still gets super uncomfortable. And there are days that are not stellar. I mean, and I think I want everyone to know that whatever you feel, like whoever's watching this, whatever you feel is valid and it's okay.
Right.
And we really do, when we let ourselves actually feel what's happening in our body, then we can, you know, oh, okay, I'm okay. Okay, I'm okay. Okay, I'm okay. Okay, I'm okay. Like, when you're in the middle of, I don't want to say an anxiety attack or a panic attack, but when you're in the middle of an emotional response, it's really hard to go from a big, huge emotional response to, I'm a rock star. I got this. I'm a rock star. I got this. So when
Yeah.
you feel it, like, because, the body mind connection, like, when you feel that stuff, it's like, okay, 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 this is the best I can do right now. The best I can do right now is sit on the couch and do nothing for an hour. Okay, that's
And
okay.
you know
That's
why?
okay.
You know why, right? Because you're human. You feel all this because you're a human being. And a lot of times, I think we as coaches put on ourselves, I have to be superhuman. And I so appreciate the fact that you are so transparent, because, the people out there that need us, um, they need to know that you can relate to them. And if we come off as these super people that have all the answers, that know exactly what to say at exactly the right time, they can't relate to that.
Yeah.
And the fact that you are very transparent about talking about a work in progress. Gosh, we all are.
Hmm.
We never arrive, right? Because there's always something that can be improved. So you said you're no longer a stay-at-home mom. I see you as a entrepreneur, single mom. How's that? Single
That's
entrepreneur,
exactly.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I usually will say I'm a single mom and a solopreneur.
There you go. I like that even better. So let's talk about that. Your coaching. Now, you don't really consider yourself a health coach, correct? Because I remember you saying that.
Okay, so I am a certified health and life coach. I'm a certified yoga instructor with multiple designations. I am a neuroaccelerated hypnosis practitioner. That's a pretty fancy way of saying I'm a neuroscience-based hypnotist, but really, when we're looking at real lasting change, we have to look at the brain. And, I mean, gosh, It's something like when I could geek out about the neuroscience. At 95% of what we do all the time is coming from subconscious beliefs. And some of them are limiting beliefs. So if we do find ourselves on the couch for an hour, I can't move, like the best I can do is sit here and play on my phone. There is a belief inside of me that's probably saying, you can't do this, you can't do it. And even if I'm not consciously thinking that, my body is responding to it by, setting me down. Someone else might call that overwhelm. But there's neuroscience behind it.
Yeah.
The title that I call myself is a daily habits coach. I call myself that because all of those years that we've been talking about, that I was trying this and trying that and trying this and trying that, without knowing I was creating a system, I was creating a system that included, daily movement and drinking plenty of water and sleeping enough and meditation and hypnosis and all of these things. So now it is my pleasure to customize daily habit systems to go along with your growth and development journey.
Mhm.
Because everything really does come down to what we do every single day.
Exactly. It's all about habits, habit change. How would you define a habit? An unconscious response to an emotion or situation. And it's funny that I sometimes talk to these clients who, yeah, I need to lose, because my coaching is more in the area of weight loss and managing chronic illness. And they'll come to me and say, yeah, I need to lose about 20 pounds in 2 weeks for a wedding. And it's like, well, would you like to keep that 20 pounds on off afterwards? Oh yeah, okay. Then we're not going to do it in 2 weeks because, you're 40 years old, you have 40 years of habits developed that got you there, and you're not going to undo that in 2 weeks, you know.
Oh,
And that's really what all people
absolutely.
are scared to death of habit change. It's so foreign to them, but the reality is that is the pathway to a new life.
Mhm.
You had to change habits. I had severe habits I had to change. But all you're doing is switching them for healthier habits, and the
And
results and the rewards will come.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. And the thing is, I think most people give up before their brain catches on. So when we're talking about the neuroscience, neuroplasticity, creating new neural networks, all these things, brain training, 21 to 67 days, bare minimum, bare minimum for
Mhm.
any new habit to stick or any old habit to stay away. I can tell you that I started a gratitude practice about 3 years ago, and it was 2.5 years before that became part of my autonomic nervous system.
Wow.
2.5 years. Like, and I'm not saying everything takes that long. I'm not saying everything takes that long, but when we make the healthy changes, we really need to give ourselves a lot of credit for what we're doing. Like, stop and hands on heart. And I love you. You're doing a great job. I love you. You're doing a great job. It's safe to change. You got this, girl. You've got this. Like, we've got to celebrate our wins, and we get to keep going. And when we get past that month mark, it gets easier. And when we get past that 2 month mark, it gets easier. And then that 3 month mark, and things are starting to stick and become habits. And then it just becomes who you are. And that's where the support and accountability comes in,
Mhm.
because we all want to get instant results. I mean, think of microwave popcorn. Who wants to stand, remember when you were kids and you would
Yeah.
have the pan and the lid and you have to shake, shake, shake the pan for like 10 minutes to get your popcorn?
Mhm.
Everybody wants microwave popcorn. Everybody wants it to be easy and fast. And it doesn't have to be hard. It can be super fun, and it is not always fast.
And you hit on something that very, very important that I came to learn. Is very important for me personally as well, and that's the power of self-acceptance. And in fact, I made a video on that when you were talking about rewarding yourself. praising
Yeah.
yourself. You know, people don't realize that you have to become your best friend, because if you aren't, who is? You know, people around you, yeah, I'm sure we all have people that care about us and stuff like that, but they've got their own stuff going on. And if
Mhm.
you can't accept your own self, like how many times have you personally or known somebody who you compliment them on something? Hey, you look really nice today. And you can tell by looking in their eyes that that compliment is just bouncing off, because their immediate thought is something like, oh yeah, you should see me in a bathing suit, or something like that, right?
Oh,
Because
this old thing. Oh,
yeah,
this old
exactly.
thing. This sweater's like 10 years old. It's not pretty.
But if you can't look yourself in the mirror and say, you know what, okay, I'm not super excited about the condition I'm in right now, but I accept you and this is my starting point. When you can do that, and that's power, because
Yeah.
once you become your best friend, there's really not much that can keep you from getting what you want.
Oh, exactly. So, have you read Michael Singer, The Untethered Soul?
No, I'm not.
Okay. So, the first few chapters made me feel like I was crazy, like literally crazy. Like, is this me or is this the roommate in my head? Is this me? Is this my thought? Is this another thought? Like, I literally felt like a little crazy, a little crazier than usual. But he talks about the relationship. Well, the relationship you have with yourself is like the conversation you're having with yourself all the time. That is the roommate in your head. Are you a good roommate?
Oh,
You
I
know,
like
this is the longest
that.
relationship you're ever going to have.
Hey, that's true. I never looked at it like that. Roommate in my head. Okay, do we evict them or
Right?
double the rent?
Right? Like, I think
Yeah,
sometimes we get to evict that roommate. Like, you're being a bad friend. Like, what do they say? Would you talk to my friend that way?
yeah,
Or would you talk, like,
right. Oh, exactly. The things I used to say to myself looking in the mirror were just horrible, awful stuff. And I didn't
mhm.
realize how destructive that is until I thought, you know what? I wouldn't never even say some of that stuff to someone I don't like. Why in the
Yep.
world am I calling myself that? Or it's like, God, man, where did I
I
learn to
caught,
do that?
oh, just conditioning. Dude, I caught myself calling myself a loser last week. And I
Oh,
caught it. Like, I caught
good.
it. Like,
Yeah.
Like it was like, ugh, you're being a loser. And then I'm like, no, 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 you're not being a loser. You're not being a loser. Okay, okay. What can you learn from this situation? Maybe that wasn't the best choice, but you're not, okay, you made a mistake. You screwed up a date. It's okay. You're not a loser. But that's the work it takes. Like,
Well, the best
it's
part of that
good.
is you caught yourself.
I was
Well,
really proud.
I remember coaching someone who was, her goal was to lose weight, but as time went on, I had these lights coming down on my face. Um, she realized what she really wanted to do was she wanted to manage food rather than food manage her. And I knew I wanted her to get there, but she was telling me how, man, I was standing in the pantry and I was almost giving in. I just felt horrible about it. I shouldn't be saying. I was like, wait, 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 stop. Okay, you were standing at the pantry and you were coaching yourself. What was it like before? Oh, I would have been grazing there for hours. Okay, look at it that way. That is huge progress. You are now in control of the food. And her face went, what? You're right. So, I
Yeah.
forget where I was going with that, but yeah, yeah. So let's talk about well, for example, what would be your ideal client? Now, do you
My
work just with women, or do you work with both genders?
I work with both women and men. However, I am passionate about supporting women like me, women that lost themselves caring for their families. And that doesn't even, I mean, that doesn't have to be you were a stay at home mom. This could be, I have a client who never had kids, but she's been everybody's caregiver her entire life to the point that she doesn't know how to take care of herself. She doesn't know
Yeah.
what she likes. So my ideal clients are typically women that are discovering or rediscovering or want to like who they are, what they're passionate about, what kind of life they want to live. I really do. I'm really good at helping people transition through, I hate to say it, but divorce. I would even, if you're not happily married and you're thinking about divorce, I'd love to talk to you because I have actually helped some people avoid divorce. So I have clients that are new empty nesters. I have clients that are old empty nesters. Really, all the stuff that is in this middle age, murky middle, where we're no longer who we used to be, but we don't necessarily know who we're becoming yet. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, totally.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to it's kind of hard to like niche down, niche down, niche down, niche down. Like everybody says, the more you niche down, and the bottom line is like my youngest client is 21, my oldest client is 61. That's just the facts.
Hmm.
So, but yes, my ideal client is someone that knows something needs to change and doesn't necessarily know what,
Yeah.
and is ready to do the work. That's the big one that most coaches won't say to you. If you're
Wow.
not willing to do the work, you're potentially gonna waste your money hiring a coach.
Exactly. In fact, I have that conversation when I do a free full-on coaching. They call them consultations. I just call it a coaching call, to get to know them. Uh, like as you understand, it's important to be a good fit with each other, not just am I a good coach for you, but are you a good client for me? And if I sense that, they particularly in area of weight loss and in dealing with health issues, they have to be at a place where they are so fed up with the yo-yo dieting and what the diet pills out there have the companies that make those that try to sell you on and stuff like that, that they're absolutely ready to make a change. And if I sense that they're not there yet, I'll flat out tell them, I said, you're not ready. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I could take your money and stuff, but that doesn't do me any good because you're going to give me a bad review, saying it didn't work because you didn't put in the work. And I've had some people say, "Whoa, what do you mean I'm not ready?" And actually turn around. But others say, "Yeah, you're right. Like I'm not quite ready to make those kinds of changes yet." And I said, "Then call me when you are." So is there any questions that I haven't asked you, or hang it, I gotta get fix these lights. I'm like staying away from little aliens here. Um, are there any questions or is there anything we haven't discussed that you feel would be important for people out there considering you as a coach for them to hear?
Um, it is my job to meet my clients where they are and customize a program um, specifically for you. So
Mhm.
if you're curious about anything I said today, I would love for you to book a complimentary breakthrough session at www.newsoulrising.com. I would love for you to reach out. I would love to have a conversation. Um, if you're struggling by yourself, I even have a one-off product. I call it what is I call it a compassionate connection call. Where do you think the name for the group came from?
Mhm.
So I do offer a one-off service for people that just need somebody to hold space. I'm great at holding space. I'm great at holding you accountable. And I would love for you to follow New Soul Rising on Instagram and Facebook. Reach out and have a call if you're interested, if you're even at all curious.
Yeah, and I would also encourage them to consider hopping in on our monthly uh group meeting, and maybe you're not a coach, or it's not just for coaches. It's again, it's for people who just need some support. And a lot of times people just need someone to listen to them,
Yep.
not necessarily come up with the answers, but just hear me, and that's a really great place for that. Plus, you might meet someone on there that you think would be great to work with. Um,
Absolutely. Yes, and thank you for bringing that up. I forgot. How did I forget the Facebook community, Compassionate Connections? Compassionate Connections is for everyone on the growth and development journey.
yeah,
Yes, whether you, I mean, it is a group where the coaches in the group will give you lots of free information, but the first question I ask every coach that enters the group is, what support do you need? Because we're all there for support, accountability, connection, and community. But it's not just coaches, it's actually probably more normal people than coaches. It's just
coaches are abnormal.
we're just the ones, we're the ones, talking a little bit more. But
Right.
uh,
And I will, at the end of this video, I will put the name of the Facebook group up, your contact
awesome.
information, all that stuff. So they'll be able to do that.